Without wasting further time, let me quickly call upon the eminent panelists we have with us today. May I request Mr. T.R. Parsuraman, who is the Senior Vice President of BCIC and the whole-time Director, Toyota Industries Engine India Limited. Be with us. May I also call upon Mr. Indushekhar, who is the Vice President and General Manager of Volvo Group. May I call upon Dr. S. Devarajan from Toyota Motors, who is the Senior Vice President. May I also call upon Mr. Ramesh Saligrama, who is the General Manager, Manufacturing at Bosch Limited. May I call upon Dr. L. Ravindran, who is the CEO of Weltman's Enterprises Management. We also have with us Mr. Naresh Bagaria, who is the CEO of Quality Foods. Gentlemen, it's really lovely to have you with us because this is a very exciting subject. We do not talk about the present, we talk about how future-ready organizations are. And I think thinking about the future just takes us on a leadership lead because we can curate different ideas and thoughts. For all of you in the audience, this has not been pre-planned. The questions have not been asked. So I think this is something where all of us can learn from. What is it that the thought leaders across BCIC really engage with in their organization? And how can we all learn to adapt ourselves to make a difference? I would like to start by asking Dr. Devarajan, from the manufacturing perspective, TVS, a lot of changes happening in the marketplace. What are some of the steps that you all are doing and taking to make your organization future ready?
Thank you very much and good morning. The only thing that is constant today is change. From our requirements, we make two-wheelers and three-wheelers. The changes are happening in customer preferences. So, a lot of you are the customers for our vehicles. Huge demand of changes. What's happening in the car industry is coming in the two-wheeler industry. What's happening to the cell industry, cell phone industry is coming in the two-wheeler industry and three-wheeler industry. So there is a lot of change happening in the entire Indian industry. One more thing is from April 1st, BS6. Well, we are having BS6 much more stricter than the Euro 5. A lot of change is happening in the Indian industry in terms of the vehicles which we make. Which vehicles to use. That's going to give you a better fuel efficiency. So there's a customer benefit. So this change is coming out of a lot of demand from the customers of what new thing can be happening. Similarly, same thing is happening in the manufacturing industry. In the factory, as well as a lot of things changing. Automation, thinking of the new things coming to the factory. So being that changes, we are trying to make foundation ready in terms of doing innovative ideas for youngsters. A lot of new things are in terms of the applications portion of it. So it's a huge change and shift towards what can be accepted and what can be adopted by all of us. And all of you are in a fantastic time in which you will be coming to the industry with a lot of new ideas. That's the way we are.
Exciting and insightful points that you have raised. Let us ask the Senior Vice President of BCIC, Mr. T.R. Parsuraman. A lot of changes that are happening across corporates and BCIC is leading the way. What is your advice to corporates to gear up for future initiatives?
Thanks, Samira, and good morning all. I think the key to the futuristic is the order of flexibility. I think change, as you say, is always constant, which is continuously changing and we are not options. I think how do we develop the flexible leaders to take the challenges? Today the big challenge is the leaders have mindsets and they have fixed opinions. and therefore the change is something astronomical. I mean, the future technology is going to be completely different. As you all know today, the Internet of Things, the digital transformation, the 3D printing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, they're all taking the corporates and manufacturing organizations to a new paradigm. So what I feel is how agile the leaders are to these changes, and have an open mind to accept these changes. I always remember the words of Swami Chidamohananda, who said an experiencer should have an experience without having an experience, which means you should have an open mind. For example, you go to watch a movie in a theatre, you are the experiencer, watching the movie is the experience. If somebody has told you that already the movie is useless, you already lost the experience. Therefore, I think the key is how you can be ultra sharp, agile, and I think the organization should develop leaders with that kind of flexibility, meaning they should be able to work in different domains, and you should break all the conventional wisdom of functional specialization. I think that would be the biggest key that organizations should be looking for.
Well said. And let us go to Mr. Indushekhar. You know, when Mr. Parasuraman spoke about flexibility in the workplace, companies are moving from issuing directives to more collaboration and knowledge sharing. How does Volvo take communication and strategy forward?
Good morning. First of all, my pranams to my Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, who has made me to come to this part of the life. And so I thank my Guru. Next important is to thank Samira, BCIC organization, and the industry experts for giving me this opportunity to be here today. St. Francis, amazing, amazing campus. Thanks to Brother Solomon and Matthew. And all of you are rocking today. So the question, if I go back to the question, collaboration and the strategies. You know, the word collaboration, when you really get into it, it's very to say, yeah, we need to collaborate. We need to go collaborate and, achieve this milestone. Now, there's a very, to reach that excellence in collaboration, organizations are actually struggling. And when the desired results are not coming in, then we blame it on there wasn't good collaboration. So, in that sense, organizations today are trying to take a step back and go to the root cause of it. Are we communicating enough? COVID is an issue, but are we communicating enough? Are we communicating enough to change our behavior? Are we cooperating enough? So from a step of communication, have you moved on to the step of cooperating to one another? Cooperating with team members. When you do these two, then you actually move into the third and most important one, which is called collaboration. If you don't understand this communication and you don't cooperate, then you cannot really have the excellence in collaboration. And more importantly, collaboration means coming together, collective approach to solve problems, to strategize stuff for the organization. So what is important there is collective intelligence. The intelligence that comes from the entire group, the intelligence that comes from the faculty. Similarly, organizations today are trying to devise all their strategies, not with few board of directors and chairmen sitting across and then saying, we need to do something. No, include employees, include everybody there, use the collective intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shekhar. And while we talk about collective intelligence, it also connotes high-powered networks. These are the days where everyone wants to know who is talking to who. Which company is associated with the other? Which part of the world? Where are the networks? What is happening? Where is the buzz? So let me ask Mr. Naresh Pagaria. Your company goes international. You've been in the UAE, Middle East, many other countries. How important is international collaborations to you?
Happy morning to all of you, and thanks, Samira. I just want to start with one thing. Down 8 years back, that was the first time we participated in an international exhibition. That was our first step towards the foreign markets, exports. And I still remember the initial 2 years when most of the countries, most of the people who used to come from various countries would not even incline to visit the Star of India. Few of them, not all of them, but certainly some part of the world were not. India mein itna chamal nahi banega. Something like that kind of a feeling was there. But let me tell all of you here today, we are there. We've been participating in one of the biggest exhibitions in the world on food. And today, in the last 5-7 years, the entire scenarios have changed. Today, the best of the European client, the best of the US client, Australian client comes not just to my stall, any of the Indian stall, and that's the kind of reputation that we have built in the last 7-8 years or so. Now, it could be due to the new political change, it could be maybe evolving of our own country, but there has been a drastic change. And I'm sure it's the right time for all youngsters like you to lay the foundation when you, another 4, 5 years or 6 years, when you start your industry or go into a new profession. I think India has really emerged on the international map, and it is the right time for all of us in manufacturing. I'm sure the automotive world might be going through a little turnaround, but I'm sure the opportunities are immense. It's only a time frame when everybody will come up. And people like us in the FMCG industries, I'm sure that the future is very bright and we can really work together on that. Thank you.
Great. So looking at a bright future, we also have with us Mr. Ramesh Saligrama. And if you can tell us, what is your perspective of today, the present times, and what are some of the competencies needed, not just by people and employees, but by companies as well, to emerge successfully?
No. Good morning. Thank you, Samira. See, I will touch upon here what I recall. Two things. One is, all along when we joined our professional career, we used to look for lifetime employment. So I take myself, if I have joined Bosch, till retirement I will stay with Bosch. Or in the past, my parents used to say, get into a government employment, so you will be safe. So now the shift is the lifetime employment is versus employability. Now lifetime employment can still be dreamt provided one individual is employable. So why I say this is, in the past, all of us knew how long ambassador lived. Now you can see every year how many models will come and how fast the product life cycle is ending. I still recall one of my product where when I joined, I used to be told, hey, why are you joining into this department? This product is going to die. And my last 30 years says in this organization, we want it or not, the one which was thought it will die, it has changed, evolved, and still retained the life on it. The one which took the birth about 10 years ago, last year it has already gone. So that means if I don't adapt, if I don't catch up, then I will die. If I see myself into the futuristic, my life can get extended. So this is something even applicable for individuals. If I don't change, if I don't adapt, if I don't learn new things, then I am not employable for future. This is the perspective.
That's really insightful because as Bosch has this perspective, I would like to ask Dr. Ravindran. All this while people were talking about how can we become a leader, but today the narrative has changed from saying how can I become a leader. People are asking how can I get more followers. So I would like to ask you, where is the shift? Do you feel that's the right way forward in changing mindsets?
Good morning. Thank you, Samira. Thank you, St. Francis College. I'm really fascinated by this place. Thank you for inviting us. Your question has been one to do with how to deal with the change. Is that right? And what else? How to get followers. You're on the right track. You are in the medium where we are. BCIC is the right forum to be followed upon for growth in academics. I'm very sure. That is how I begin this answer. Followership is actually a much more simpler task than leadership. If you look at the business practices of the past, you will always find the market leader and the innovator always not succeeding. It is the follower who makes it. Let us look at two different examples. Eastman Kodak, for example, were the pioneers, right? All of you know Kodak? You know Kodak? Have you heard about it? They were the biggest digital camera company that existed. They don't exist today. You have heard of Sony? Sony Signal, all of you know. Sony Walkman, have you seen? It doesn't exist today. Others have taken over. Who took it over? Today, virtually with a smartphone, you are rolling it out. Nokia was a leader, Motorola was a leader. Many others have been leaders, but the followers have actually taken over. Due to lack of time and his prompting at the beginning that the answer is very short, I will keep it at this.
Great. So we also received a notification that there were many other press conferences being held today, but they have been cancelled by the government due to certain, other issues. Most of the roads also now are being closed because I think they want to contain the coronavirus symptoms. So due to shortage of time, if I could just wrap this discussion with two instances and have your views. Is that okay? For the benefit of our students, pay attention. So I was reading the newspaper, yesterday, and I read this very fascinating topic of Elon Musk. And I don't know, it's something that I felt out of this world. He wants to have a majority of jobs, not in Earth, in Mars by 2050. We talk about issues, concerns, and how can businesses collaborate together. But this man has a totally different side. Plenty of jobs there, and he's working on that. And he's also put a red alert to the public and to the world, saying, let's start working fast and work together and collaborate so that we can make it possible before he dies. So I would like to ask the panel on my right, what is your take on it? Does that make sense? Is that something superficial? Or is that something where companies, leaders such as yourselves, can work together, support his causes, support other such causes, and, fast track the pace of this world? I will start by asking you, Mr. Parsuram.
I think it's a fantastic question. It recollects me of a man landing on the moon, 1969, when Neil Armstrong said, "This is a small step for a man, but a giant leap for mankind." I think exactly 10 years before, John F. Kennedy said, "I would like to put the man on the moon." That was a great mission. And ultra precision, exactly 10 years, man landed on the moon. Can just anybody imagine 50 years back, somebody talking about landing on the moon? 60 years back, when Kennedy said it was 1959, exactly it happened. I think the vision of the leader is able to see that kind of farsightedness. Compared to that kind of a goal, putting man on the Mars is not a very difficult challenge. 60 years back we talked about it, and today it is a reality. And definitely I think that kind of a thinking is very important. Another example, people asked Steve Jobs about the iPad. When iPad was launched, they asked Steve Jobs, we had never seen him talking to the customer. How did you launch this amazing product? And Steve Jobs said, normally you talk to the customer, try to get his expectations. But we always look at 3 or 4 levels, even beyond what the customer can imagine. For example, when iPad was thought about, people didn't have any idea about iPad. Palm talks, desktops, laptops are very popular. So when you go to that kind of a level, he calls it an epiphany or the cloud busting of ideas, where there is no competitor. I think that is the kind of a level he is looking at. So for iPad, there is no competitor for the last several years. Nobody is able to go near to that. I think from that perspective, I think what he said is right. Similarly, the same thing is Wright brothers. When they started flying the plane, it was something amazing. I think looking into the stories, definitely 2050 landing on the Mars is definitely a possibility according to me. Thank you.
I can just add a comment over here. You know, we call in management big, hairy, audacious goal. Be happy. So, what you said is something like, you know, getting or creating jobs in Mars. Maybe they're setting as a BHAG. Maybe Google has a BHAG, we want to be in here. Okay? Lalit Modi, IPL 20, the man who created that business. When everybody complained that spectators don't come to the stadium, he said, create entertainment in stadium. That's the BHAG. So it continues in the world of business.
Well said, well said. And Dr. Devarajan, can we have your views?
Your thought is your destination. The dream, what we have, definitely is going to be the change which we will make. Maybe we talk about Mars. A lot of products coming in will be changed. With the way of traffic, maybe things like highway, with the transport area, we can make a lot of changes inside. So each one you should take this idea and say what all can be done. In our education system, for example, what all changes can happen to make changes will happen in the entire thing. So I was talking in the morning how we can extend your education to have 3 major areas in terms of your own economic study which are going to make in the commerce area, in terms of the environment and society. Society, all these 3 areas, with this vision, when you think what will be our next idea, or what will be our next contribution, what we all can make. I think it's a thought process which is coming in. May not be to the Mars or may not be to the other areas, but what changes can happen in our own experiences, what changes can happen in our own application, and hence what are we doing today. I think we'll be able to take it forward.
Thank you, Dr. Devarajan. And now over to the panel on my left. So there was a book that I was reading by Dr. Shashi Tharoor which talks about the New World Disorder. And he says with all the chaos in the world, Mexico, US, Ukraine and different countries, India can really emerge as a superpower. Now while he says that, another article that I read, I think it was on March 5th, was by ISRO. And they were planning to launch the geo satellite, the geotagging satellite, so that every nook and corner, especially of India to start with, could be tracked for various purposes. But what happened is, due to some technical failure, that was slowed down. So I would like you all to get into a debate exactly opposite to what they have said. Does it make sense to have these huge visions and aspirations forward? Or do we need to take it slow, keep our ear to the ground, and still have our strong foundation in place? I would like to start by asking Mr. Ramesh Saligrama.
I think I don't want to go in opposite, but in order to realize that what is necessary is to also do it in small steps. So that means for every journey, we should have what we need to do today, what we need to do say 5 years down the line, what we need to do say 20 years down the line. So if we can divide that, so without these small steps, 20 years later we cannot imagine, oh, it will not drop. It has to be supported with the action. So in order to do that, maybe what would be necessary for us to see what Shashi Tharoor said, that yeah, in order to do that, what is needed for us is to build infrastructure for us. Is it necessary? It's not that 5 years down the line it is needed today. It should have been done yesterday, but at least we should start today. I think it is necessary in order to fulfill long-term mission. Short-term targets are very much necessary.
Can we always continue to say, ever since my childhood, that India is an underdeveloped country and we are a poverty-ridden country, that we cannot think big? I never could study in a college like this during my graduation days. Right? The kind of facilities that is provided today is unimaginable. Would the children of these days ever go to the college that I went to or the school that I went to? No. Right? So therefore the dreams have certainly got to be much bigger. India is no more a country which can dream small.
Thank you, and over to Naresh.
I just want to add to it. While we need the Elon Musks of the world, we need Steve Jobs, we need a lot of these kind of terrifying people. But if I look from my perspective, from the Indian perspective, then my points would be how much changes on the ground at the grassroots level for a country like India. Like for example, has the life of an agriculturist changed? I think we really need to ponder about it. Have education system changed? If you ask me, the place where we are sitting today, we've not been much enough. I think there also we need something to really change about. A lot of things that have been taught 20 years back to me, there has been changes, no denial, but there has to be a lot of things. Is the what industries like us we need? Are these people who are going to come up, let's say in the next 3-5 years, are they ready to be just taken inside without doing any training? Or very minimal training? I think no. A lot of changes. I think at the grassroots level, if we can do these two fundamental changes that comes to my mind, would help a lot.
I think that's been a very insightful discussion. May I request all of you